Hello, crafty friends. So I was sitting in bed at like 4 in the morning, as you do, trying to brainstorm ideas for my title page when I came across a card that Christina Warner had made in February. And I'm not sure why it popped up on my feed when she made it in February, but I was like, oh, this was the inspiration I was waiting for. So I take no credit for the design of this page, and I take all the credit for how horrible it comes out. But I started with first just doing some ink blending. So I'm using some distress oxides in Spun Sugar, Worn Lipstick, and Aged Mahogany. And in the card that Christina Warner had made, also if you're not following Christina Warner, you are missing out on tons of inspiration. But on the card that Christina Warner had made, she had used some blues and she had blended it through a stencil. And then she went ahead and blended the inks on top of the blended image. And I was like, oh, that's so pretty. That's going to be great for a title page. So I used pinks because pinks are my favorite colors to play with. And I started with the oxides for the ink blending because I know the oxides and I enjoy working with the oxides, and I knew I would get really good color coverage. And this stencil is from Joggles. It's called Rose Madder. I will link everything in the description box. But I started with the, and I'm using one brush. And I started with the lightest pink, worked my way into the coral, and then added a little bit of that burgundy at the edge. And I'm working on my glass media matte from Holtz, which is like my favorite thing to ink blend on because you can get really messy and then it just wipes up with water. And then I switched to the inks, not the ink oxides, because with the dye formula, I thought it would layer over the oxides better than layering the oxides directly over themselves. And I think the dye formula is a little bit more translucent, so I was pretty sure you'd still be able to see those blended flowers through the dye inks. Now, I don't have aged mahogany in the ink, so I just did Worn Lipstick and Spun Sugar over the blended flowers, and you see, I think it gives you, it's supposed to give you this really soft, hazy airbrush look. And this, honestly, guys, if I had stopped here, this would have been an excellent title page for my album. I probably should have stopped here. But this worked out really well. So I just used my brushes from Amazon, blended that out. And now obviously my ink blending skills are not like card maker ink blending skills, but I really like the way this came out. It still came out really like pretty and soft and hazy. And I think switching to the inks for the blending over the flowers was a really good call. And this is where it all goes to everything else, because I hate heat embossing. And in my fever dreams in the middle of the night, I was like, you know what would be a good idea for this page? To heat emboss my stamps. And something in my head should have been like, Tashiana, that's a terrible idea. You suck at heat embossing. But I did it anyway. So I'm using the Juniper Alpha stamps from Kerri Bradford Studio, which, you guys, this stamp set is so much fun. It is a 4-inch alpha, and you're probably like, Tashiana, who needs a 4-inch alpha? You do, you guys. You need a 4-inch alpha. It's a pretty hefty investment because it is 3 sheets of stamps to get 4-inch alphas, but it was so worth it. So I'm titling my page Book 1, and I have my number stamp also out because the 0 looks just like an O, so I was able to stamp the whole word book. And I'm using my Ranger embossing ink to stamp this down, and I stamped it down 3 times in the hopes of getting a pretty solid impression so that when I put the embossing powder on it, it wouldn't like skip or miss, which it does anyway, but I stamped it down 3 times. Now, I know some well-meaning person in the comments is going to be like, Tashiana, this is everything you did wrong. I hate heat embossing, so I think it can tell that I just don't enjoy playing with this medium, and that's why it just doesn't work for me. I've tried 4 different embossing inks, and every time I heat emboss, it skips or it does something silly. And I know it's just that I need practice with this particular medium, but since I don't enjoy doing it, I don't practice at it. And it's kind of like a vicious cycle, you know? It's like one of those things where it's like, well, if you did it more often, it probably wouldn't look this bad. But it makes me so sad every time I pull it out. It's messy. I get embossing powder everywhere. And I'm so impatient for my heat tool to heat up. There's just a number of reasons why embossing's not for me. The only time I pull out embossing powder, you guys, is during December daily, because I always want to emboss things in gold, and that is literally the only time I emboss. So maybe I should experiment with a few other projects. And you can see like how the embossing powder skips on the bottom of the words, the letters in the word book, but it doesn't do it on the letters in the word one. Now, I don't know if that my embossing ink just got better after I like embossed the first letters. I have no idea what happened here, but I wasn't going to do all that ink blending again, so it went in the album as is because Tashiana is a fan of getting it done, even if it's not perfect. And I actually don't think it looks terrible. Like I'm being really facetious and poking fun at myself. I don't think it came out as bad as like I'm making it sound. It is not perfect embossing by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it came out okay. So I'm using the Ranger Superfine embossing powder in black. And then I have this really funky heat tool from Wagner that that gets really hot compared to like my craft tool. So it's what I pull out just for embossing. And then I pulled out the thick and thin alpha set and the iconic icon set from Kerri Bradford and just stamped 2020 and a little camera on top of my book one so I know what year I'm working with. And that is my title page. I think actually, all things considered, I think it looks pretty good. And I think it's a really nice way to open up the album. So I'm going to stop talking now. We're going to switch to the flip through and you'll get to watch how these album pages worked out and how I filled things up for the last few months. So I hope you enjoyed this quick little process to see how I put together the title page. And I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, friends, so we're back. The terrifyingly frustrating embossing process video is finished. We're gonna do our flip through of my book one of my story album. So here's how thick it is. I'm not sure if you can see that with the light, but it's pretty chunky. And I don't want to put anything else in here, so I'm going to move on to volume 2. So I figured I'd show you how volume 1 filled out. Now, with there only being 4 months left in the year, chances are volume 2 will go into next year, and that's okay. I'll just put both dates on it. But so cover page, which you saw. And then I will tell you if pages have a process video, if I remember what kits I use, how I designed the flow of things as we flip through. This was made with another caveat, my pages are not in the order that they were made here, just because I like things to flow a certain way. So after I made all the pages, then I went in and glued things back to back. So my album was not actually put together until it was full. So like literally after I finished my last habit project, that's when I went in and arranged things in the order that I wanted them to go in. So they are not in the order that I made them. So you might see pages and be like, Tasha, I just saw that video last week. Yes, that is on purpose. Okay, now we'll keep going. So I made this with the Celebrate Story Kit, and this was just documenting one of the photos Joshua and I took when we had our engagement photo shoot. There are actually a lot of engagement photos in this album because I never really did any work with them. So there's a lot in this album, and this one just has a flip out with some journaling here. It's not a Tashi layout if there isn't an essay involved, right? And then I just use some hybrid. There is a process for this one, so you can go ahead and watch that if you're new here. Another thing that happened to me a few times is when I was gluing the pages in the order that I wanted them, sometimes my pages are a little bit shorter than the page that goes next to them. So I just use a little bit of washi tape that matches the next layout, back them back, like I put them back to back, and then I put a little bit of washi to fill in that empty space, and it works out. I think I did that a few times, so you might see that happen again. This was when Crystal and I had decided to do Story Kit Crush. So this was the first layout I made crushing the Give Story Kit. And it's just a story about my 2 little monsters that Joshua and I are raising. They were so small when I took this picture. They are not this small anymore. They are behemoths. There's a process video for this one. And then this was made with the February digital Stories by the Month kit. I love this photo of Joshua. It's like literally one of my favorite pictures of him, and he never lets me take pictures of him. So a picture with him smiling is like gold. And I love the way this picture came out. This is actually physical stamping, but everything else I made using the digital kit. So this is like a full-on hybrid page. And then I added a few chipboard accents. This was, I want to say May. I think this was the May physical Stories by the Month kit, but I love how that rainbow stamped card came out. So you'll see that there are some pages where there are pockets, some pages where there aren't pockets. Typically the pages where there are pockets are because I used pockets before, and then I was like, I have to fill in the pockets. So these particular layouts are probably like 3 months apart. But I went back in here so I could fill in the pockets and then work from here. So that's why, again, that's why my album is arranged the way it is, because I go back and forth with filling in empty spaces. Yeah, so this was made, I really want to say this was May or June, but I'm not sure. But Joshua and I had gone to brunch. Brunch life is the best life. And so I did some documenting brunch. This must have been, no, this was pre-pandemic. I don't know. This story was pre-pandemic, like pre-quarantine, but the kit was in May, I think. But there's a video for that one. This, I think, was my second layout with the Give Story kit. So how about I just tell you what there isn't a process video for, because there's lots of processes for this one. But this was my second layout with the Give Story kit, and I love this like repeat stamping I did in Photoshop. You'll actually see this on a bunch of my pages. This is one of my favorite things to do when I have negative space at the top. And then I actually use pockets to add my story, because my story was not an essay. And typically, if my story is not an essay, then I use pockets because it'll fit on a 4x6 card. So this is when Crystal and I were crushing the watch story kit. The other thing is I don't only work in 6x8, so there are some projects that you might have seen videos for that are not in this, because I also work in 9x12 and 6x12, but we're just going through my 6x8 story binder today. I'm talking so much, this is gonna take forever. I'm gonna talk less and flip more. But this was with the watch story kit when we were crushing the watch story kit, and I was just documenting how many like Zoom calls I was on, because that was literally the only way I was seeing my friends and my family was through Zoom calls. So I was just documenting screens, and I did journaling twice. But since it was small both times, I could use pockets. So lots of pockets on this page. And then this was when we were crushing change, and I documented finally having my license in my hand, which still feels very, very good, because nursing school, like, it's really hard to forget nursing school. It feels like it happened like yesterday, even though I've been out of school since December, still feels like it happened yesterday. All right, so this was the rest story kit, and actually this is the only layout I made when we were crushing the rest story kit, because it was not a great time for me. So this is the only page I made, but it is literally one of my favorite things. Like, I'm just gonna take this out so you can see what that looks like. It is one of my favorite things. I love this big photo with all this empty space that I just filled up with words. And then this was a little embellishment that I wanted to stick in here because I used the gold heart. So I just wanted to repeat the gold hearts across the spread. But I love how that looks, that big picture. Also, when I did the journaling down here and then down here. So when you read it, you read one page then the other, instead of trying to read across both pages. That was a really good choice that I made, because it made it pretty easy to do the journaling and to edit the photos in Photoshop. Okay, this was, I want to say July, the July Stories by the Month kit, because there's actually a card here. And I just did a flip out journaling about, protesting with my husband and how I was feeling about everything else that was going on. There is not a process video for this one, so if you don't follow me on Instagram, you've never seen this page, but I took a picture of when my husband and I were out protesting, and then I did some journaling here, put a card on top of it. This Freedom Lies in Being Bold is my favorite card in a long time. I love this. I need to get my hands on the digital copy so I can print it out over and over again. And then on the back side, I just put the card said remembering, I put today and a sticker, and that is the whole page. Really quick, really easy, just to get the story out, because there's some days I feel like I'm full of story and I don't need a million embellishments to tell them. And also this picture, I just wanted it to stand on its own. Okay, so here's another change layout. Yeah, my album really is all mixed up. Here's another change layout that there is a process video for, so you would have seen. Just documenting my hair journey. My hair is getting, this picture actually took like 3 months ago, and my hair is getting like freakishly long. I've never had hair like sit on my, well, not never, but since I stopped like chemically relaxing my hair when I was 18, I've never had hair on my neck or like on my shoulders, and my locks are on my shoulders now, and it is very weird feeling hair touching the back of your neck when that hasn't happened for like a decade. It is very strange, but totally enjoying my lock journey still. Let me just make sure I'm not missing a page. Okay, so here's what I made with the kindness story kit, and I do believe there's a video for this one. A picture of my mom, my sister, and I, and then the journaling flips out here, and it's list style journaling of things I've learned about kindness from my mom and my sister. I normally don't do lists like this, but this kindness kit really inspired me to try something new, and I really, really enjoyed how it came out. All right, so here's there's also not a process video for this one. This I made with the We story kit, and there's lots of pictures of Joshua and I holding hands, because it's one of my favorite shots to take of us. Like, we're always holding hands. We've been together for 11 years, and we're still always holding hands, and it's typically him initiating it, not me. So if we're walking next to each other, he'll grab my hand, and so we're always holding hands. So I have lots of pictures of us holding hands, and this, This particular one I took the day before I got my Wii kit, and I was like, all right, this is perfect. So I did some journaling. I love this. Everything is better when we're together. I repeated just the two of us to give a little border for this journaling. This was a, in the kit, it was a wood veneer piece, but I cut it out using Silhouette Studio and backed it. I cut it out like 5 times on white and pink and blue, layered it over each other to give that fun shadowed look, and then that was my story. This is the progress kit, and there's also not a process for this one. But what I did was I took a canvas in Photoshop, repeated this stamp, progress not perfection, over and over in different colors that match the kit. Like I like to pull the colors from the kit. And then on this page, I just kind of arranged some of the die cuts and the leather stickers and chipboard that came in the kit. And then some journaling about taking things one step at a time. Also, here's another shot that you'll see a lot of. It's just me taking top-down shots of us walking. Just because I like the moving photos. Also, Joshua and I are not very much the type to like pose and take selfies together. So this is like a really easy way to get a picture of both of us without it actually being of both of us. So here I had to glue, you'll see I glued the page protector directly to the back of my photo, and I used some washi to fill in that empty space because there was nothing else in my album. So I just attached it directly to the back of this. And this is a layout I made with a Studio Calico kit. I had a bunch of photos of like summer, and I wanted to get them in the album, and I didn't think it needed a huge story, so I just did some journaling directly on a card, handwritten journaling. What is going on? Put some stuff in the pockets, and that was that. And I really liked how this came out because I love the bright colors, and it feels really good in the middle of the album. Okay, this was June and the other one was May. I have no idea anymore, but this was a physical Stories by the Month kit layout. I also don't know if there's a process for this one, but Joshua and I we were walking and we found these sad little tulips on the side of the road, and I thought it was a perfect story for what life looks like because they're kind of sad, but they're still really beautiful, which is like a metaphor for what life is. Kind of sad sometimes, but really, really beautiful in the end. And so I colored in some of these wood veneer pieces. That's one of my favorite things about the Stories by the Month kits is that they always come with wood veneer. So I colored some in, layered them over some stickers. This I cut out of a journaling card. This was a journaling card, and then I did some stamping. I don't know if you can see that, but I did some stamping, put my journaling on vellum, attached it to the card, and using pockets, and that was the page. All right, this is when we were crushing the Gratitude Story kit, and actually, yeah, it does go on this side. This is completely attached. Yep, it goes on this side. So I have this photo of my family from when I went to Georgia for Christmas. And it was a very top-heavy photo, so I printed it. I think I actually cropped it more so it was closer to the top. There is a process video for this one if you haven't seen this. And then I arranged some hexagons across the bottom, made a pocket, and then my journaling is on this pocket, and I even did some stamping. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. There's like actual handwritten, there's hexagons, there's these fun pleather circles, there's chipboard, and there's stamping on the journaling. Love how this one came out. This is super fun, super dynamic. It's one of my favorites. This I made for Allie's product play, no, hybrid product play. So if you didn't take the class, you've never seen this page, but it was a hybrid page I made, and the class, you can actually still enroll for the class if you want to. There's lots of cool tips on how to do hybrid journaling and how to do hybrid documenting, but I made this page using just hybrid journaling cards. So this was a hybrid journaling card. And then I printed, are these going to come out? I printed the photos on acetate and did the journaling on cardstock and then attached them with a brad. So they're kind of transparent, but you can still see the words. I did this in December Daily last year, and that's where I got the idea from because I really enjoyed it there. This I made during Stamp Week for the numbers lesson, and there is a video for this. I'm documenting my pinning ceremony, and then, oh, there's more handwritten journaling in this book than I remembered. So I stamped and fussy cut these numbers, attached them to some tiny tags, and did some journaling under the tags, and that's how this page worked out. This was also a layout I made for the Gratitude Story Kit. So do you see how like far apart my stories were? I kind of also wanted to balance it by color. So if there was pages that were super colorful, I tried to keep them separate from the pages that were not so colorful, just so when you're flipping through it, your eyes don't hurt. I hope I did a good job. It feels like I did a good job. Just so you're flipping through, your eyes don't hurt. Okay. So there is a video for this one. I did a ton of mixed media in this background, blending some stencils and some inks, did my journaling on vellum. I have this huge picture of Jess, which I love, added some of these rubber circles and some chipboard, and that called this one done. And then my last few pages in the book are actually in chronological order because I didn't think I was going to put anything else in here. Then I realized I still had a few more spaces. So here's another page where this page was much smaller than the page after it. So I just added some washi to fill up the empty space. There is a video for this. This is for the Habit Story Kit Crush that Crystal and I are doing. So I did my journaling here. And then I separated my 2 habit stories by this story of Joshua and I. I love this photo so much. There is not a video for this. So if you aren't following me on Instagram, you have not seen this page, but it was a huge photo that I printed 13.5 by 8.25. This was using the September Physical Stories by the Month kit, and my journaling is in here. And I kind of don't want to show you my stamping, but I will anyway, because when I was stamping this, I dropped my stamp block, so my red ink is everywhere, which is fine because you only see the green and the yellow sticking out anyway. And then here is my story, and I did some stamping across the bottom, and that is just tucked right into the photo. So all you need to do is take an X-Acto knife and cut like a slit into your photo, and then I use foam tape. I don't know if you can see that, but I used foam tape and backed it to some cardstock to create a pocket, and now my journaling sits right in the photo where I can pull it out. That's not something I came up with. I think Allie was the first person to do it, and I loved it, and now I do it all the time. And then here is my other habit story kit, Crush project, which I didn't take this off. So this might look really familiar because this just went up like 3 days ago. So this might look really familiar, but here is the other habit story kit Crush video. Also, how cool is that pocket? I love when things like this work in the album. Like I like flipping through the album and being able to pull things out and like flip things. I like how interactive this is. And then a lot of people had questions about how this was going to fit in my album. Well, I said my album was super chunky and it was going to be the last page. So I attached this to some cardstock, punched holes in it, and now, if I can just pick it up, this opens perfectly. Like it opens just right because, like I said, it's high enough off the D-rings. See? It's high enough off the D-rings that the D-rings do not interfere with the opening and closing. And see? So you open it, you can read it, and you can close it back whichever way with the blue tag on top or the yellow tag on top. So you guys, that is volume 1 of my 2020. I just want to make sure I close this properly and I don't break anything. Like this page back here. I'm totally breaking this. Okay, hold on. Sorry. It's going to take a second just to make sure we don't break anything. Okay, so this is volume 1 of my storybook album for 2020. As much as I despise my janky embossing on this front page, I really do like the way this cover page came out. I think it actually came out pretty good. If we ignore how terrible my embossing is on the word book, I think it came out pretty good. So that's volume 1, you guys. So the next time you see me working, I'll be working in volume 2. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're so inclined. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one. So until next time, keep your crafting, have the best day, and I will see you around. Bye!